Hi, everybody. Welcome to Acting from All Angles, sponsored by Actors in Action, where we take the passionate actor and empower them with the craft and the skills to have a serious acting career. So welcome. And today we're going to talk about memorization, which is something that actors really struggle with, even though they may not admit it. But first, let me introduce myself to those of you who don't know me. My name is Julianne Lichty Stratton, and I am the creator of Actors in Action Professional Actor Training. And today we are going to talk about memorization. So I have 4 different techniques that I teach in my classes to help people memorize quickly and to give them a skill, a pathway to memorize. Because a lot of times, if you think about it, if you've been trained in acting, like I went to acting school, we never talked about doing any kind of a technique for acting. They were just like, here are your lines, memorize them. We never were taught. And it always was frustrating to me because memorizing is hard. It can be difficult. And it never crossed my mind that there could be techniques for memorizing. But there's quite a few of them, and I've done some research into them. And we're going to talk about today my favorite way, and I think for me is probably the most helpful way for me to memorize. And it is called, well, I call it the initial path system. So I'm going to take a quick look right here, all right? So what we're going to do when we memorize is we are going to, first of all, the biggest thing we have to do is we have to let the words make sense to ourselves. So if we're doing we're memorizing Mary Had a Little Lamb, whose fleece was white as snow. What we want to do is we want to take the very first phrase, Mary Had a Little Lamb, we're going to close our eyes and we're going to let that make sense to us. And my dogs are barking at the garbage man. It's true. You can probably hear him. So we're going to close our eyes and we're going to think Mary. Who is Mary? What is Mary? Maybe have an image of her, Mary. And then had. What does had mean? You hold on to something or you possess it. Mary had a small little teeny word that means a little something. Little, and little means small, as you can imagine, small. Lamb. We can do lamb. Lambs, nouns are pretty easy because we can have an image for them. So had a little lamb. So you're going to make that make sense into your mind. Mary had a little lamb. So you got that first phrase, which is great. So then what you're going to do is you will have mapped out the initials for each word. So this is to be or not to be. That is a question. And as you can see over on the other side, I have it just the initials with the punctuation. So to be or not to be, that is a question. So TB, comma, ONTB dash dash TITIQ, semicolon. So that's to be or not to be, that is a question. All right, so after I've made that make sense to me, to be or not to be, that is the question. I've closed my eyes, I've made a nice little groove into my, into what makes sense to me in there. I'm gonna open my eyes and I'm going to look at this and I'm going to just read those initials. So I'm gonna say my lines out loud, but I'm gonna look at that, I'm gonna say to be or not to be. And I'm going to repeat that maybe 10 times, to be or not to be, to be or not to be, just looking at that phrase, to be or not to be, to be or not to be, to be or not to be. And then after I've done it about 10 times, I'm going to look up and just say it, to be or not to be. Great, looks like I've got that down. So then I'm going to move on to the next part, that is the question. So I'll close my eyes, I'll think of that is the question, let that mean something to me. Then I'll open my eyes and I'll read TITQ. All right, I'll just read over, letting those letters remind me of what the words are. That is the question, that is the question, that is the question, that is the question. So I'll say it about 10 times. So then I'll look up and I'll say both lines. To be or not to be, that is the question. Awesome, I've got it down. Okay, then I'll move on to the next line. Whether it is noble or in the mind, to suffer. I know this monologue super well, so I could just rattle it off. But that is the thing. Hey, Christopher's here. Hi, Christopher. We're learning how to memorize and teaching a really cool little technique. So then I would go through the entire monologue doing that. So again, the process is you first take the first phrase, you let it make sense to you, then you open your eyes and you say it over and over again, looking at these these initials here, to be or not to be, that is a question. To be or not to be, that is a question. Until you feel like you know it, and then test yourself and look up and say it again. So you're gonna wanna do, oh, Christopher's giving some love, nice. So then what you're gonna wanna do is you wanna do a nice chunk of that. So maybe, I don't know, 5 to 10 lines of doing this technique with it and looking up and saying it and adding on each time. So to be or not to be, that is a question. Whether 'tis nobler in the mind, to suffer the slings and arrows. And then making sure that you can say the lines consecutively, all right? So once you have a nice big chunk of that, the next thing you wanna do is you wanna get up and you want to make this physical. If you can physicalize your memorization while you're memorizing, it's going to help you so much more. It's going to help your body remember it. It's going to help, it's just going to flush it out into your body and into your mind. So I suggest you get up and you move around. You can do the blocking of the scene. You know the blocking if it's something you're working on in class. Just moving around, walking around, jogging, walking. If you have a daily jog or a walk, it's a great time to work on your memorization skills. You can dance, you can bounce a ball. I love bouncing a ball. I'll get a tennis ball and I'll just bounce it back and forth or bounce it against the wall, a racquetball or a tennis ball, because it gets you out of your head and into your body. Or you can toss a beanbag, you can even do house chores, you can fold laundry. To be or not to be, that is the question, whether it is nobler in the mind. Just get yourself going. Suit the action to the word. Yes, that's what I mean. Christopher Robin Miller just said, you mean suit the action to the word? Yeah, pretty much. Get it in your body, get it in your body. Then you just do that until you have the lines down cold so that you can say them really quickly. To be or not to be, that is a question. Whether it's nobler in the mind, to suffer the slings and arrows of a riches fortune, or to take arms against the sea of troubles, and by opposing none them to die, to sleep no more, and by sleep to say blah, blah, blah. Christopher's laughing. Christopher, you are so funny. You're so great. So this is an excellent way to learn how to memorize and memorize quickly. And I'll tell you something really cool about memorization. You may not know, you may know, I don't know. I don't know, you know. But is that memorization is just a skill. And it's something that you can practice and get good at and get faster and faster and faster at. So if you were to practice how to memorize initial path system, if you were to practice this every day, I don't know, 5-10 minutes, in a few months, you would be so quick at memorizing. It would be really, really incredible, and you would have superpowers with memorizing, which as actors, we all know that if we're not off book, we really can't bring ourselves to the role. We all know that. And another thing that's really important too is if you're doing film, you know, you memorize your lines, you want to go on set, you want to be stone cold off book, because for lots of reasons, but a big reason is they're going to throw blocking at you. And for some reason, when you start moving around a lot, if you haven't moved around a lot when you were memorizing, your lines can go out of your head. And then you're like lost and at sea, and it's really hard to focus and concentrate. So if you can just say these, like, get your lines so you can say them in the shower just super quickly, you don't have to think about them, that means you're really, really ready with your memorization to be able to go on set and just to be able to rock it. That is my acting from all angles today. Like I said, I have several other techniques you might want to check out. I'm going to post a link right here from my website, from my resources on my website. And this is the different ways to memorize. And then also I'm going to post this really cool thing. This is where I learned about how to memorize this way. It's from productivity501.com. And what it does is you can take words, you can take like a monologue, paste it into this little converter they have, and it will post all of just the initials for you. So it's a really, really quick way. It's a really great way of doing that. Thank you for watching. I really hope this was helpful. We'll go over some other of the other three different kinds of memorization techniques that I have another time. And please post, let me know how this goes if you work on it. And then also next week, we are going to be talking about another cool technique that's going to help you, Christopher sending more love. That's going to help you with cold reads. Okay, it's pretty technical, but it really, really helps. It's called lifting off lifting off, and we'll talk about that more in detail. We'll talk about that next week. Okay, if you have any questions, please let me know. Here at Acting from All Angles, we really try to approach acting from all the angles and let you know what we know so we can help you. Okay, have a great week. Have a great weekend. Go see Joker if you haven't. It's incredible. It's so good. And we'll see you next week.